this will be my time, a little plug here. So,
Okay.
worked for a bunch of different media groups, worked for a bunch of different independent journalists and media orgs and everything out here. Some good, some really bad, and I kind of just was fed up with all of it. I saw stories either not getting the attention I thought they deserved, people not getting interviewed who I thought their stories were worth telling, opportunities passed up on, no trust built, journalists, some being horrible and leaking information, getting people killed, some just being careless and not caring about Ukraine, defenders here, volunteers, any of it. So I decided, well, I guess I have to be the one to do this. So I have gone out and sought my own funding and started this media company, East West FM, the patch that Rick has there. I myself, Corey, who I believe you met last time when he was here, he's working with me now as our short form and our social media guy. He's also going to do a couple other different documentary projects with us. Ukrainian Anastasia, she is now working with me, fixer work, full translations. We have a couple candidates right now for video editor, but we're always going to take a couple more just in case, just to see. But I'm hoping to have basically an entire documentary studio so that these stories that nobody hears about in the West can finally get told in a way that is respectful and shows what's actually happening here, but with the quality that people will actually be engaged and want to learn about it. Because there's nothing like it back in the West, and there so desperately needs to be. So I just decided to do it myself.
Мы иногда своим коллективом, караулом задаем себе такой вопрос, как вообще мы выжили. Я сейчас объясню почему. Потому что сейчас уже 3-й год войны, и у нас практически есть вся информация о пуске РСЗВ, пусках ракет. Ну, тогда беспилотников не было, вот эти 3 вида. Тогда не было никаких тревог, тогда никто нас не предупреждал. Мы не знали, летит, не летит. Действительно было, во-первых, очень опасно, было очень страшно. Вообще, как в принципе это началось.
That is how quick you, your friends, your family, really anybody that you know could be killed by an airstrike. It doesn't matter, drones, rockets, aero glide bombs, Russia will send them to your home just as they do here. Airstrikes deliberately targeting civilians is one of Russia's most used tactics. Of what they launch, 90% hits civilian areas. This number comes from UN Council meetings, from politicians, but also from high-ranking state emergency service officials that I have personally spoken to, not just here in Kharkiv, but in all of Ukraine. They'll send drones to your home, and you won't be able to tell if that buzzing in the air is for you or for somebody else. They will send a $3 million ballistic missile just to crush you under rubble. And this is not a recent trend. On March 1st, 2022, Russia would launch 2 cruise missiles armed with cluster munitions into the state administration building that you see behind me here in Kharkiv. This would kill 25 people and leave another estimated 35 wounded. The site of this attack would strike people in this now infamous footage. But the truth is that strikes like these haven't stopped.
Вот! Ебать! Хату прям. Чё там? Ебать! Пизда! Ебать! Сука!
These attacks are the reality for millions of Ukrainians every single day. So much so that when I started filming, I didn't know I was filming a documentary. Today I want to give you a complete picture of these Russian airstrikes, from the people that are affected to the brave rescue workers who are just trying to save a life, and even the tools of war that Russia uses to carry these out.
Well, if you finished,
Mhm.
I am under impression. That's a pretty striking intro, and I also very like the synth wave you have on the background, which gives a great atmosphere. Like, and of course, seeing these missile attacks is hard, and and I don't know. The words I have in my mind is devastating.
It's, you know, I wanted to be able to show specifically from people's cell phones that this is, you know, because there's thousands, millions of footages like this from people's phones. This is the reality that people have to live with and live for. And sometimes they're in their homes, sometimes they're in their streets. And I think people just think it's random, or they don't understand how close it is to everyone. And I wanted to give people outside of this country a little bit of that feeling that there is, it's life, it's how it is. It's horrible, and it's still how it is, and it's how it's been for going on 4 years now.
Yeah.
I feel a lot of gratitude to you, and you know, when I saw this moments when you in Kharkiv and you in front of these buildings, and I feel a lot of gratitude to you, because not everybody can do it. And even Ukrainian are afraid to be in Kharkiv, in different dangerous places. And thank you so much for doing this work, and for doing this in this direction, with these details, with this understanding that you work with Anna. It's so great. Thank you so much for doing this, because it's really it's you know, when I'm watching this video, I just begin to think about myself, what I'm doing in my life. I have to do more, you know. I have to do something better, and I have to maybe forget about art, I don't know, but
No.
it's like it's pushed me to do more, and I think it's the most important like result, because we have to understand that we have to fight, and it's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. That we begin to normalize this, and it's just, and really, it's a reality that war began to be worse. For example, in our region, also in Odessa region, because in the beginning of full-scale war, yes, it was very dangerous, because we didn't know about details. We didn't know about everything, and so nervous, you know. Now we know about everything, and the war began to be worse, and the attacks begin to be worse, but the world began to be more indifferent and more like just.
There's, you know, it's a huge honor to hear. Just, you know, for me, the biggest honor is being out here and being able to do work that's valued by people who live here, whose homes are here. But you are right. Like, in this particular documentary, I pick on a lot of those pieces. You know, the man who's being interviewed at the beginning, he's in it a lot more. His name is Turgut. He's a firefighter who was in Saltivka, and he talks about 2022 and what that was like for him to be there at a frontline position, literally, you know, having to run around from artillery fire as he's trying to save people from the homes in Saltivka. He was actually stopped by the Russians on the very first day of the war, because they were outside of the city going on a fire call, and they had to sneak back into Kharkiv. And they were right at the same ring road where fighting first commenced there. And if him and his team hadn't gone there, they would have been caught up in that. It's being in places like Kharkiv and going into the DSNS command center in the city. I was the first journalist allowed to go in there and speak with the head of DSNS there. In Odessa, it's gotten worse. One of the strikes that I talk about in this video was when I was in Odessa, and it was July 3rd. That's when it was. And I arrived there on scene as it was still burning, as the Shahed had crashed through a building. Like it's got worse this year. And that's part of this, is showing people that while it's continued since 2022, everyone just looked at it in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only grown since then. So there's so much that I think people can gain, and that's just me to push myself to make sure that it's at that level that people can see that and appreciate that. So, but also like stuff like your art is incredibly important too, to keep these traditions alive, to keep like your style and this through line true as well. It's a complex thing, but everything helps in a very small way.
But why the documentary films, the documentary theater for me begin to be much more important, because real life sometimes is more have more sense than something that you can imagine about this real life. And I want to be more in the real life. I want to be more close with the real people, and don't forget about this real senses and real values of this time. And exactly such work, your work, your projects, and work, and other journalists and other documentary directors, and show this way. And it's really about this time. So thank you so much for your work.
Thank you. Yeah.
Devin, I also want to join the thanks here, and I also want to mention that you did it in a professional way, but I usually don't like the professional way. But when I watched this, I didn't cringe out at all. It was all natural, and there was no this like fakeness that you usually see in professional stuff, like on television. All these things that I hate. I didn't see anything of this here, so it's very well made
Thank you.
intro, and I'm looking forward to see the whole documentary.
And it's one of the things that I talk about with media especially, is that for a lot of these big news guys, they don't live here. They come here, they might be here for a couple months, maybe, if we're lucky. I know of journalists for large news media for countries that come here and maybe spend a couple of days. How can you have an understanding and talk about something in depth if you're not here to experience it? If you haven't had to, for a lot of these strikes, especially the ones in Kyiv that I talk about, I was in my bed, while they were going down. The loudest nights here in Kyiv, I had my window open listening as there was just constant sound going over. I was there at the site to see like everything after the fact. I watched them pulling the bodies out from under rubble. I spoke with the people at those strikes pulling the bodies out from under the rubble. Like there's a through line of knowledge that only happens when you're there to experience it deeply. And so when I'm sitting there and I'm, because it's a couple of takes on some of these for me to get the final take that I liked when filming this stuff. But the anger is still there that I have from seeing these ballistic strikes into 3-bedroom or 3-story like buildings. And here's a $500,000 ballistic missile that they launched for just to kill. But again, you don't see that if you're not here in a longer capacity. It's just, not visual to you. It's not a reality that you can
Yeah.
accurately tell,
Hmm.
in my opinion. I'll add that there to be diplomatic.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.